Communication breakdown? Have you experienced it with your friends? What is communication breakdown? What are the reasons why there is communication breakdown? Communication breakdown refers to a total cessation of interaction. When we say cessation of interaction, there is an end of interaction in the communication process. When there is a failure to exchange information, resulting in a lack of communication, there is communication breakdown. There are instances when miscommunication and misunderstanding occur because of certain barriers. So this week, we are going to know the barriers that hinder the communication process to become an effective communicator. But before that, we should know first the objectives of our lesson. The first one, we have to identify the common communication barriers in a given scenario. Second, identify strategies to be utilized in a given situation to avoid communication breakdown. There are a lot of communication barriers. To name a few, we have emotional barriers, or known as psychological barriers. We also have language barrier that resulted usually from the use of jargon. The third one, we have attitudinal barriers, having the characteristic of lack in confidence. The fourth is we have physical barrier that includes noisy environment. And lastly, we have physiological barriers. Emotional barriers, or much known as psychological barriers, pertains to feelings and emotions. Do you remember a time when you are feeling angry because of some reasons? Sometimes we shout or feel irritated when someone wants to talk with us. Always remember, while you are still angry, you will likely have trouble processing logical statements. That's why you must remove yourself from the situation for a bit to give yourself time to cool off. The next communication barrier is language barrier, also known as semantic barrier or the use of jargons. This is a barrier to communication between people who are unable to speak a common language. Example to these are couples who are coming from different countries who cannot speak well in English as a universal language. Next is attitudinal barriers. These are perceptions or behaviors such as shyness or lack of confidence that prevent people from communicating effectively. When a person has a low self-esteem, he could hardly express thoughts due to lack of confidence that may result to personality conflict, resistance to change, or a lack of motivation. Otherwise, we also have physical barrier, which is also known as environmental noise. It is the environmental and natural condition that act as a barrier in communication in sending message from sender to receiver. And lastly, we also have physiological barrier. It is the influence of physiological state of the communicators, the sender and the receiver, which create an obstacle for effective communication. It also pertains to the incapability of the parts of the body, such as poor eyesight and poor hearing. Here are some strategies to keep in mind in order to avoid communication breakdown. The first one is we have become an engaged listener. The second, pay attention to nonverbal signals. And the third one, keep stress in check. And lastly, assert yourself. For further explanation for this, you may check it out to the concept notes provided in your Week 3 Learning Activity Sheet, Day 2. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you learned more from this video. God bless everyone!